This is Duke University.
Each quarter, Duke University and CFO Magazine survey CFOs around the world to ask them what's happening at their companies. And then we add up all the companies in a given country, and it gives us a pretty good sense of where that country or region of the world is heading. It's pretty widely known that the public has some level of mistrust with the government as well as with business leaders. So we asked the CFOs, how is that affecting your business? And in the United States, about 36% of companies said the mistrust is negatively affecting their businesses, but it's even higher in Europe. About 60% of companies, in Latin America, nearly 80% of companies said public mistrust is having a negative effect on how they do their business. And how is this affecting them more specifically? It's changing the business decisions they make. It's causing them to spend more money on marketing and an opportunity to try to offset that mistrust. They're also doing some positive things like trying to improve governance and improve the transparency of their companies. But nonetheless, this is a big distraction for management and taking time and resources away. If the sanctions that are currently on Russia were made more severe, many companies around the world say it would directly negatively affect their own company, okay? So in the US, about 36% of companies say they're affected directly by Russian businesses in a negative way, but it gets much higher if you go into Europe and in Asia, especially China, where the majority of companies now say severe sanctions on Russia would directly affect their company in a negative way. So you can see why some of these business leaders in other countries are kind of lobbying against more severe sanctions on Russia. Another area that has some potentially troubling implications would be labor unrest. So in Latin America, 3 out of every 4 companies say they're worried that in the next year there'll be enough strikes or work stoppages in their country that could have a severe negative drag on the economy. And in particular in Brazil, where the World Cup is now being held, 85% of Brazilian CFOs say they're worried about labor unrest. Other regions of the world, it's a little bit lower, but still relatively high in Asian and African countries in particular. Now, in the US, we get off somewhat easily here. Only 9% of companies say they're worried that labor unrest will pose any kind of problem in the next year. So the US is actually pretty stable, kind of a smooth water place to operate right now. Now, you might wonder what causes this labor unrest. Well, low wages, slow growth in the economy, or poor working conditions are really the top three issues that companies have to grapple with in order to get past this labor unrest. In Europe right now, many companies are worried about deflation, where the price level actually goes down, so the opposite of inflation. Now you might think, why is that a bad thing? Well, the reason is it can dampen demand because consumers now think, well, why should I buy a product now? If I wait 6 or 12 months, it'll be cheaper. And that has an effect of dampening demand. So we have kind of a negative circular effect here between weak demand and deflation. So in Europe right now, 1/3 of CFOs think they already are in an environment with deflation. And among these companies, they think this will last for a couple of years. Now this is really interesting because the European Central Bank recently took actions to try to fight against deflation, and yet the business leaders are saying it's still a concern, so the ECB hasn't done enough yet. So in Europe, the deflation is a particular concern that they're trying to come out of their recession, and yet deflation is a big issue they still need to grapple with. So these are just some among very many results that we have at cfosurvey.org. So I'd encourage you to go out there and look at all the many results. In the 3rd quarter, we'll release our results around September 11th. So we look forward to talking to you again then.